Hi friends, it's Sarah from Ruffles and Rain Boots, and today we're going to make a Christmas boop cone gnome. So you don't have to use a floral cone. I just have 100 of these because I buy them when they go on sale or clearance. You can make a paper cone and it will work just fine. I'm going to be using fleece fabric, but you can use anything you want. I'm going to be using faux fur, but you can also use wool locks, yarn, anything you want. And what you just saw roll over was one of the noses. You can use a 1-inch, 3-inch, 2-inch, whatever makes your heart happy. You're also going to need some aluminum foil. So I'm going to be using aluminum foil to extend this into a point. I've shared how to make a pointed hat for these things before. We're not doing any of that. We're not sharing patterns today. We're doing what we call rage crafting. So I am just going to extend the hat into a bendy little tip. No wires, no patterns, nothing. We're just going to craft and make something, not for a business, just for ourselves. You can sell these. They go pretty well. You can make Santa ones, which will go really well. Use all red and then put a little belt on at the bottom. Anyway, you're just going to have to glue down some of the foil so that it doesn't shift. And then I wrestled with my glue gun a lot during this craft. It would not feed, whatever it is, the little mini glue sticks. I don't know. Anyway, I just glued it down. Then you can like shape it later, but don't shape it now because we need to actually cover it. So if you do shape it, just extend it back up. Now, I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to cover mine in fleece fabric. This is super cheap. If you don't know where to get this, go to Michael's, go to Hobby Lobby, go to Amazon, type in the word fleece, F-L-E-E-C-E. That's all we're going to do. We're going to wrap it around. Do you need a pattern? You do not. You do not. Don't worry about it. You're just going to put your finger right where it is. After you've rolled that cone and you cover it up by at least a 1/2 inch, an inch is a little better. And then you're just going to cut to the other side. Okay? That's it. Then you're just going to cut kind of away from that. Why we're doing this is because we want to wrap it and make a straight-ish seam on the back. And then all we're going to do, probably should have cut off that selvage edge, but like I said, I'm rage crafting, so not a lot of thought went into this before I just started gathering supplies. Had the idea in my head. Normally I map these things out, but again, I wasn't really in the mood to map things out. All right, so I'm just adding glue here, and then don't do that. Just roll the cone on top of it. I realized, you know what? That was way too much work. Just make sure that it's glued down. You don't even have to go all the way down to the bottom of the cone yet. I would actually not go that far down. And then just keep putting glue here. You can try, if you're using like a regular glue gun, you can try and like spread out the glue if you're using a thinner fabric so that it doesn't show any glue bumps. But fleece is the world's easiest fabric to work with because there's always some stretch and it's very thick, so it's very forgiving. All right, so I'm just gonna roll this and cover it. You could craft along with me. It took me 15 minutes to make this guy. I don't know how long the video is gonna end up being, but it was about 15 minutes start to finish after I gathered all the supplies, which again, you'll see some of this I picked up off my craft room floor. I was supposed to be cleaning, actually. I don't know if I should admit this. Please give me a comment below and tell me you do this. But I was supposed to be cleaning because I'm about to do a big run of laser stuff. And I want all of the fuzz from faux fur and fleece. I want all of it like cleaned up and my room immaculate when I work with my lasers. Anyway, I found the Sherpa fleece on the floor and this cone was shoved into a corner, and that is literally how this came to be. All right, so I just cut it in a straight line in the back and made sure the edges were glued down. Now for the bottom, you see it's not glued down, but there's a little overhang of fabric. That's all you need. You can like roll it up if you want, but you don't need to do all that. It's just easy. We're gonna add some glue to the bottom of this. Stay away from the very, very edge because we're gonna clean it up in just a second with our scissors. And there you go. That's all we're doing. Hold it there for a couple seconds until it dries. And you can see like my fabric is scrunched up on the edges. That's okay because we're going to use that in just a second. So once it's dry, just go ahead and trim it to the edge because we're going to cut the other after we cover this. Are there better ways to do this? Yes, you could have done this in the beginning. But again, I didn't have a plan. So do as I say now, not as I actually did. But it's super easy, right? Because now that you have it all trimmed up, you're just going to go around and glue it down on the edges. And then go around, do it some more until you're all the way around. And then once you've done that, let it dry, right? And then glue down the bottom of our wrapped cone. We're going to trim it after it's all dry so you don't get hot glue on your sewing scissors or whatever. It's easy, right? It's an easy craft. It got stuff off my craft room floor. Supposed to be rage cleaning. Now I'm rage crafting. I don't know. Tell me if you do this kind of stuff. It's a stress relief, right? For me to be crafting. Even though I have a business that I craft for, it's still so nice and freeing. And most of the time I'm very light and happy and everything. But that day is summer and I'm making Christmas stuff, if that tells you anything. Got a little hot glue right there. I don't really care. You can use a heat gun to try and melt that a little bit and then dab it with the same fabric that you used and a good portion of it will come up. Now for the hat, you can see I don't have a lot of fabric here. Just make sure that the stretch of any fabric you are using is on the horizontal. Be a little bit more forgiving, a little tighter, and it'll just work a little bit better on this top part. So as you can imagine, we're going to do the same exact thing. I'm just going to line up the two seams before I glue anything down, which I remembered to do, so kudos to me. All right, so now we're just going to sort of cut this in a curvy shape. You're going to cut off some of this material, so be a little bit more generous than you think, because like you can see for me, I'm going to actually roll this over. Hold on. I'm just going to line up the seam right there, and then I'm going to roll this over, but I'm going to cut off this top little triangle, okay? After we glue this part down here, I'm going to cut off the triangle on the fold. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want a nice little point without having to do any prep work. Because again, I'm lazy. Anyway, after I made this, I thought, hey, with another one of the cones that I have shoved into a corner, I should make a Santa one because I still have red fleece. I have black velvet. That would make a cute little Santa belt. And I can guarantee you somewhere in this house, I have gold glitter foam that I could turn into a belt buckle. So you give him a nice little white beard and look how cute that would be. A little pom-pom on the hat. All right, so you can see here, I'm just making sure I am going to glue it straight up and then I'm going to cut it after I glue it. See? Do you see that? It was giving me hassles that day. Anyway, you can see, doop, straight up. Again, you're not doing the very top because I'm going to do that in a second. But once you have that all dry, you can just trim it so it matches the back seam of the green or whatever color you choose to put on the bottom. Red would be easiest because then you could just wrap the whole thing in red, add the belt at the bottom, add a cuff of Sherpa fleece at the top. That would be nice, right? I think the Santa would be cute. Now I'm going to have to make it. Oh, this is what I do. I think I'm done with something and then I come up with a better idea afterwards. If you all make this, join us in the Facebook group. All right, so if you want to add anything here like anything on a string, a bell, decoration, wreath, do that before you close this up. And all you're going to do is just add a little hot glue and roll the whole thing into like a cannoli. One thing I miss about Seattle, living in Texas now, is we had an amazing Italian festival. And cannolis. I love cannolis. All right, so anyway, now that it's on, I'm just going to bend the hat into position. I'm just bending the actual foil. That's it. We're all done. Now we're going to make the beard. I am going to use faux fur, but you can poke wool locks into this with a needle. You could do that because I'm going to be using the fleece that I found. You'll see me picking stuff out of it in just a second. Now, I just accidentally rolled that thing into the hot glue gun. And I'm going to show you that because you know me, I do not hide any mistakes. I don't edit all that stuff out. We all make mistakes. We have to know how to fix them. So all I'm doing here is just measuring out how wide the faux fur is. And yes, I used my finger and I just decided that's where it was going to be. I'm using an X-Acto knife to just score the fabric backing of the faux fur. Once you have a hole, you can rip it apart. Don't try and cut it with scissors. It takes too long and you cut the fur. Just score the back of it. You can even use scissors or razor blade to score the back of it and then just yank. So happy. And now I'm just going to cut up that side as well. Normally, I even like try and measure it and make it look the same, but let's see how I did. I'm telling you, this was such a quick craft. I don't think that's too bad, to be honest. I do have one of these little fabric strings. Cut those off, and I'm going to show you a trick that I never get credit for, but I promise you, I came up with this. You're going to glue down the top of the faux fur. If you don't want to use any trim, do this. It makes it look so much better, especially if you want it to look like little cheeks or anything. It just looks nicer. I just did that for you because I know I'm using fleece, but whatever. All right, so gluing this on. It's a pretty significantly sized piece of fur, and if you're working with that, just try not getting any glue in the fur. That's the goal. I'm wiping off my glue gun because you can't get that out. You're going to have to cut it out or just deal with it. So here you can see I'm just going to anchor it in place and then add a copious amount of hot glue to make sure this never goes anywhere. Boop. There you go. All right, so this is just a dog comb. You can use a human comb if you want. I'm just splitting the faux fur so I can see the fabric backing. You are going to want to leave a little room above the nose, only because you're going to be pulling down the hat. If you're not pulling down the hat, definitely leave about a 1/2 inch. All right, so I'm just going to split this right in the middle to that fabric backing. And now I'm going to use a dowel cap because this is pretty big size. So you can see this is like a 2-inch dowel cap. And I'm going to glue it around here. And that's it. You can use I have like doorknobs, or what do you call it? Cabinet knobs. Those are really good. As well as just round balls you can get at the craft store. Oops, drop him. All right, so now for the faux fur, now for the Sherpa, I'm just wrapping it around and adding 1 inch to make sure I can join these in the back. And then I'm going to glue down the top and glue down the bottom. I got asked the other day, why do I do that? I do that so it looks nicer, so you can't see that fabric edge. When you cut Sherpa fleece, you saw those little pieces on my table that I pull off. That will over time get moved and rubbed, and on the cut edge it's more likely to fall off. So if you roll down the top and the bottom, it's going to look nice. And look, my little Sherpa fleece is getting glued to the nose and covering where I rolled the whole thing into the glue gun. I was too lazy to get out my heat gun. Sorry. I'm just telling you, I was supposed to be cleaning, not adding more stuff to my to-do list. But look, I figure it's a win because these things are all now used. They found a nice little home, and I have a cute Christmas decoration in August. That's still on my fireplace, actually. I have Halloween, fall, and Christmas decorating my house right now. Now you can brush this out for a nice, smooth, sophisticated look, but I don't feel sophisticated today, so I'm going to use my fingers, wiggle out that beard, give him a little mustache, and here he is. Now this is under the studio lighting, so I always like to show you this is it in real life where he still sits today. That's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this craft. Please like this video, share it, and subscribe for more crafting fun.